1 ball and no strikes. Aaron waiting. The outfield deep and straight away. Fastball is a high drive into deep left center field. Buckner goes back to the fence. It is gone. For baseball, what a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol. And it is a great moment for all of us, and particularly for Henry Aaron, who was met at home plate not only by...
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the first episode of the Baseball Podcast on the AJL Sports Network. I'm Leo. My co-host is... Say your name.
Jared.
Jared, there you go. Yeah, we're going to be talking baseball. Lots of stuff to talk about coming into the stretch of the offseason. A lot has already happened, but a lot is still to happen. But today we woke up to the news that Hank Aaron, baseball great, American legend, has passed away at the age of 86, 87, a few weeks away from his 87th birthday. He is one of the greatest baseball players of all time, leads the league in career RBIs and total bases. At one point, definitely led the league in career home runs, has 755 of those. I could talk about this guy for hours. Led the league in doubles 4 times, home runs 4 times as well, RBIs again 4 times. One of the most consistent hitters throughout the bulk of his career. And fun fact, he never didn't hit double-digit home runs. His lowest was in his age 42 season, and that was 10. He always hit more than 10. So it's pretty impressive, Jared, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and then what's most impressive isn't even not just all those numbers, is the fact that how he had to do it, going through, well, I mean, playing in Southern America and being a black man and dealing with all this racism, dealing with especially as he was trying to reach Babe Ruth's record of 714 home runs, and dealing with just awful racism, hate letters, and the people saying they'd rather see him die than beat Babe Ruth's home run record, which is just awful.
Yeah, the death threats, they could discourage really many people to just stop playing, to give everything up. But he had a 23-year career, all-star 21 of those times. Just wasn't all-star in his first and last seasons, which is just crazy. But yeah, we remember him on this day. We learned of this morning, I believe. Yeah, that's terrible news. He had a great career, great life. And he will be missed by the baseball community. The Braves and I guess Milwaukee will probably do something to remember him by this season, but we'll wait to see because the season's still 2 months away. But from there, we'll jump straight into Blue Jays news and the signing of George Springer, coming out of the Astros organization for, I think, the first time. Yeah, he was with the Houston Astros for the first 7 years of his career. Now coming to the Jays, signing a mammoth contract, 6 years, something you don't see the Jays do, offer 6-year contracts. But they're signing him for 6 years for $160 million, was it? No, more. $150 million. It's pretty big AAV. Didn't do
25 per year.
25 per year. The numbers speak for themselves. He is a very good hitter. Batting average hovers around, his career batting average is 270. He has 174 career home runs. So he's averaging somewhere around 20 home runs a season. But more than that, he's been an MVP candidate his last 4 seasons, 3-time All-Star, and obviously embroiled in that scandal with the Houston Astros, and we'll insert a banging noise here, just kind of as a little thing. But Yeah, he's a great player. Obviously, one of the most highest touted free agents of this period. I think he should be leading the outfield for the Jays for the next couple of years. Maybe he'll be moved around, maybe not in center field. But what do you think, Jared?
Yeah, I mean, surely he's going to start out in center field. He's a good defender, still has pretty good speed, and I mean, I think he'll be center fielder for at least the next 3 years, maybe even four, until eventually he might get moved to the corner or something. But yeah, I mean, the numbers speak for itself. He's just one of the best hitters in baseball of the last few years, and there was the whole trash can banging situation. But I mean, even without 2017 and those years, I mean, look at his playoff numbers. He just absolutely crushes the ball in the playoffs, and that's never something you can have too much of. That's for sure. And I mean, this is something the Jays have needed for a while. I think is to have a veteran, a very good veteran hitter to complement all the young guys. I mean, Vlad, when he came up as a 20-year-old, he's just the best hitter on the team immediately, and all the focus is on him. Whereas if you look at a guy like Ronald Acuna, for example, in Atlanta, when he came up, he's not their best hitter. He's doesn't have all that pressure to.
Yeah, he might be now, but
Yeah, I mean, they had Freddie Freeman when
yeah,
when he came up, and they still have Freddie Freeman.
best first baseman in baseball.
Yeah, he's. I mean, well, that just he the numbers speak for himself on Freddie Freeman to be the best hitter on that team. It wasn't all this pressure on a 20-year-old Ronald Acuna Jr. And now this will be the same thing for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in Toronto, I think, and all the other young hitters for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, George Springer in 2017 was the World Series MVP for Houston. Obviously, that season they beat the LA Dodgers in 7 games. George Springer hit 5 home runs in that series and hit a batting average of 379, slugging percentage of 1,000, OPS an ungodly 1.471.
And that all came up. That all started after game one. He struck out 4 times,
Yeah,
and then he came back and did all
yeah,
that, which is just insane.
yeah. In his postseason career, he's played 63 games and 19 home runs with 38 RBIs. That's pretty productive. So if you
That's
stretch
very
that over
impressive.
a whole season, if you have a guy playing 162 games, driving in let's say 80 runs, pretty productive. Might not be the best on the team, but he's going to be good, right?
Oh yeah,
I don't
especially
think.
out of the leadoff spot
Mhm.
too for those teams. It's not like he's got to get to hit behind Altuve and
Yeah,
Bregman. He's setting the table for those guys, and he's still driving in a ton of runs. So
yeah. Even with the Jays, I think we're expecting him to hit either first or second because you have Biggio. He's gonna. I don't see why they don't play him at first base, but we'll get into the Jays later in another episode. But I do see Springer probably hitting maybe second, third. I think fourth. I think that's Vlad's spot. Vlad or Gurriel, if he's even still with the team. Because at the moment we don't know if he's getting traded or if they have some ideas of where to play him. Because honestly, they can move him back into the infield. That solves that issue. But God knows if he wants to play in the infield again, if he can, if he's okay with fielding in the infield. Because when we remember, he got moved to the outfield because his second base playing was bad. Like it was not good. He
no, it
made
was
multiple
terrible.
errors. Um, but I don't see I don't see George Springer not having a massive impact on this team. Right? He's been consistent. It's not like we're taking a flyer on some international guy or some guy who's had a down season per se. Even though this past season, he hit 265, hit 14 home runs in 51 games. That's still pretty good, right?
That's very impressive. Well, I mean, what I think like 20 home runs was what led the
Yeah,
league, I think, right?
yeah,
And so 14 is not too far off,
yeah,
right?
yeah. You stretch this over a full season, and you're averaging about 40 home runs, and that would break his career high, which was 2019, where he hit 39, and drove in 96, right?
Yeah.
His only really down year, I would say, was 2018. Even though he hit 265, 22 home runs, 71 RBIs, but he was still an all star, right?
No, yeah. Like his bad seasons are great, and honestly, I think for a while he's been almost I don't want to say underrated or underappreciated, but he kind of has been on that Astros team. I mean, before the whole scandal, and everyone's going, wow, they have all these great hitters. They got MVPs and Altuve and Bregman, and Correa down further down the line, and it's just kind of Springer, which just kind of has been there since the beginning of their initial rebuild, and he's just almost quietly just been a dominant hitter in the league. And if you look at all the underlying stats too, he's been a top 10 hitter in the league over the last like 2-3 seasons, especially.
I think if you look at his OPS, it says a lot. It's not like top of the line, but still very good. 2020 he had an 899 OPS. 2019 was 974. Like I said, in 2018 dipped down to 780, but that's still over league average. That's still very good. And in his first 4 seasons before that, it was always above 800. Yeah, and you don't see that often. I mean, he's not Mike Trout, right? Like he's not going to hit like 1,000 OPS every single year.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably. I mean, if you look at on MLB, they've ranked him as the third best center fielder behind only Trout and Bellinger. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're pretty good players, but
I've heard some words about them, but we'll see if their careers pan out.
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know, OPS is on base plus slugging, which means you're hitting the ball hard and you're getting on base a ton, right? If you have a high OPS, and that's exactly what he does out of the leadoff spot. He gets on base and he crushes the ball when he gets hits, right?
Yeah, I mean that's not that easy, right? It's I mean you have like singles hitters like, and we'll talk about Brantley in a second. Michael Brantley, he's a great hitter, high average, but he doesn't hit many home runs, right? So his OPS might be in the 800s just because he hits a lot of singles. He gets on base, but he turns that into other stuff, right? Like stolen bases, whatever. But with George Springer, does that stop the Jays signing Trevor Bauer? Like, are they going to pivot to more of a James Paxton kind of figure who's not going to demand $30 million? So if he came in and he asked for $30 million, I think they take him out back and shoot him in the head for being so stupid.
Yeah, I think in regards to Trevor Bauer, I think the Jays' view on signing Trevor Bauer hasn't changed at all, and I think it's that they're not interested in spending $35 million over 6 seasons or per season on a guy like Trevor Bauer. I think if they can get him at what they think is a reasonable price, then they can still afford him. So I don't think it takes him out of the running for Trevor Bauer, but I don't think it means they're definitely less inclined to go and spend big on Trevor Bauer for sure, even though they probably didn't want to spend big on him in the first place.
Yeah, I think the Angels, they have been quietly the front runner for Trevor Bauer, but I think this signing of George Springer just like puts them ahead of the Jays even more just because they have more money. I don't know if the Mets like are that big on him as like people say, because I think they would have splashed the cash already, right? Because they have been splashing the cash. They've been making big trades. They signed James McCann. Who else did they sign?
They traded for Lindor.
They traded for Lindor, right?
And
Carrasco. He's gonna. I think they're looking at signing him long term because I don't think that team is really ready to win per se, but I think that team's ready to play. Like they're not joking around anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I think Lindor's going to be getting over $20 million in the offseason. Probably before then they're going to sign into an extension. Just because probably around mid-season. Just because if shit goes down for them, like if they're not playing that well, they could trade him. They could still trade him, right?
Yeah. If Bauer goes to the Mets, that would create one heck of a rotation that they'd have there. They'd have Jacob deGrom, obviously number one, arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Then you'd have Trevor Bauer and Carlos Carrasco, and then
Steven Matz.
Marcus Stroman.
Oh, I was thinking Steven Matz, but that's all right. Steven Matz still my favorite player in that whole setup because he's a lefty. I'm not a lefty, but I just have a thing for Steven Matz. Anyways, Michael Brantley, let's talk about him. So, as we all know, he was close to signing with the Blue Jays, or whatever it was that was said, is that, he had agreed a 3-year deal, blah, blah, blah. Wake up the next morning to the news that he had actually re-signed with the Houston Astros. And I saw a good joke saying, it's as if, a few of the Astros guys showed up to his house right before he signed the contract and just forced him to sign with them. Because it does seem like he was so close because of everything that happened that night. Because Springer signed, and then it was reported that Jays were very close with Brantley as well, or that Springer was talking to Brantley saying, "Hey, come sign here as well. Let's play together." Apparently, they're good friends. But yeah, got $16 million a year from the Houston Astros. Um, I, for me, not knowing that much about Brantley just because haven't watched him too much, um, that's a lot. But in his past 2 seasons, he was making 16 million, and he has been producing the same amount. So I don't think that's like overpaying. But again, he's 33. He's going to be 34 this season.
Yeah, I think that I bet his contract with the Jays might have been it was supposed to be a 3-year deal. I think that they were reporting, but would have been a little bit less than 16 per year. I think. I mean, Brantley's more of a DH now. He's not even an outfielder anymore, but he can still hit really well. I've seen him. I mean, over the years in Cleveland, he's always been that guy who's just if only he was healthy kind of guy, he'd be great. He
Consistently hitting over 300. Yeah.
Yeah, he's always been a terrific pure hitter, and I think the Astros, as soon as they saw Springer gone, and with Brantley and Springer, apparently they're close friends.
Yeah.
When they see Brantley also about to go to the Jays, they're going, hold on a minute, we can't have both of you guys going to the Jays. So we're here you go. We'll give you what you wanted in the first place.
Yeah. From 2020 going back to 2017, Brantley hit 300, 311, 309, 299. And CBS reports that if he had one more hit in 2017, just one more, he would have entered the next spring, so that's 2021, as the only player to bat 300 or better in 4 consecutive seasons. Right?
Yeah, that's
So,
impressive.
like, he had a down year in 2016 because he was injured. He only played 11 games for Cleveland. Prior to that, he had another 2 seasons of hitting over 300. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He gets on base, slugging. It hovers around 450, 500. Yeah, he's a great hitter, right? But for the Houston Astros and Cleveland Indians, because he's only been in Houston for 2 years, he's been hitting either in the 7 hole, DH, or ninth. So he does,
Yeah,
or somewhere near the bottom. I think that's what it says here.
yeah.
Um,
I think it's really unfortunate that Jays couldn't get him. I think he would have been at least his skill set and his bat would have been a perfect complement to all the big powerful right-handed hitters in the Blue Jays lineup.
yeah,
But I mean, that would have probably meant a guy like Gurriel or well, probably not Hernandez or Grichuk. So probably a guy like Gurriel gets traded, and that would be unfortunate too. But I mean,
yeah. I mean,
that's a whole other
the
discussion.
the problem with Grichuk is just he makes too much money for what he's doing. Right?
Yeah,
The Jays signed him to a 5-year, $50 million deal. That is just stupid. He's not that good. Like you can give that to someone like I don't know, like a Mark Canna, who's apparently one of the best left fielders in baseball now.
yeah.
But Randall Grichuk is not one of the best center fielders. He's good. Like, he's a good hitter. He can hit home runs, but like he hasn't been worth that 10 million, and that's not even that big of a threshold to cross.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean he's I mean you see him last year. Oh, he's made a bunch of adjustments and he went on a great run and then he went cold again. And that's just Randall Grichuk. I mean he's a great. He'll always be. He's a very adequate defender. He's not going to cost you games in the outfield, especially as a right fielder. And he's a very got a lot of power as well, but he's very inconsistent. But I think ideally, and now that Springer's here, I think finally with all the depth that they have in their lineup, he can finally be a 7, 8 hitter maybe, or 6, 7, 8 hitter, which is perfect for his skill set. Just to kind of middle to bottom of the order type of bat.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the Jays have Grichuk for another 3 years. After this, we'll take him through his age 31 season. But he's been a good hitter. He has been. 273 this last season, but prior to that, it's been hovering around the 240s, right?
yeah,
But
I mean he's inconsistent. He'll go games where he just all he does is swing and miss, and then other games where all he does is hit bombs, right? So
mhm.
he's just one of those guys. He's a valuable player to have, but maybe not for a team like the Jays are right now with all their outfield depth.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of other free agent signings for the Jays, there have been reports recently that the Blue Jays have James Paxton on their radar, right? So I think that was pretty obvious for everyone because the Jays are still looking at starting pitching. I mean, just to complement Ryu, Pearson. I don't know if Chow was going to be in the rotation. I don't think that's the plan. I don't think he really should be. Chase Anderson still there. Robbie Ray. But I do think they want to push Chase Anderson out.
And O'Rourke.
And Roark, god damn it. Like, take him out behind the shed, man. Like, just leave him there.
Yeah, he was not very good last year.
Yeah, John Heyman reporting this morning, just like a few hours ago. The very active Blue Jays are looking at starting pitching now and have James Paxton among others on their radar. I mean, among others, what does that even mean, right? Like, that could be Trevor Bauer, that could be Mike Leake, that could be Masahiro Tanaka. Yeah. Well, Jake Odorizzi, that'd be an interesting.
Yeah, they wanted him last year, didn't get him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a solid pitcher. Another guy they probably look at is Taijuan Walker, depending on how much money he wants.
Taijuan Walker, yeah.
But they know him pretty well. He was phenomenal
great
as a Blue Jay last year. I mean, obviously not a ton of starts, but he was very good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I would love a Taijuan Walker there, and maybe like even, and here's one that is controversial, and I know that Jays will not sign this player just because of what management has said before. But Roberto Osuna does not have a team. Right?
Yeah.
He's 26. He was, I think, DFA'd or just outrighted by the Astros.
Yeah,
but
I think with Osuna, for I think with him it's that he hurt his elbow and he's not gonna get Tommy John surgery. So I think a lot of teams are saying we don't want this guy because he's just gonna eventually need Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
And speaking of Tommy John surgery, Ken Giles is still there.
Ken Giles is still there, but he's gonna be out for the season, isn't he?
Or probably most of the season. And that's why, I mean, if he can come back from Tommy John effectively, and the Jays could maybe sign him to a 2-year deal or something, he could be. I think he's still a phenomenal part of the bullpen when if he can get back from Tommy John, effectively.
I mean, a similar thing happened with the Brooklyn Nets. They signed so this is basketball, different sport, but they signed was it Kevin Durant to a 2-year deal? And one of those years, or last year, he was out for the entire season. He didn't play, right? They wanted him because they didn't want somebody else to have him, right? Because this guy made the league max for a season where he was just sitting on his ass at home, right? So why doesn't that happen in baseball? Why doesn't someone just sign Osuna to all right, first season we're gonna give you $1 million, sit on your ass, do nothing, don't get hurt, and then next season we'll give you $9 million, right? So it's a $10 million contract.
I think it's different in baseball just because, especially for pitchers, because all what could possibly happen is one injury and he's never playing again, or one little thing goes wrong and he could never play again. Whereas if you're in basketball, this is Kevin Durant, one of the best players in the league. You want, if there's a chance that he's going to be fully healthy and playing to the best of his abilities, you take him. But anyway, that's a discussion for another
for
day.
A different podcast, for a different show. Yeah. Hey, here's an under the radar one. Someone who doesn't have a team, who hasn't played Major League Baseball in the past 2 years. Drew Hutchinson. He's a free agent. All right, and we'll move on from that because we're not going to.
He can stay as a free agent.
He can stay. He dabbled in the majors in 2018, but yeah,
got us Francisco Liriano in that trade to the Pirates.
Oh yeah. And it got us Harold Ramirez, was it? An outfielder who now plays for the Marlins, if I remember correctly.
And wasn't I think Reese McGuire was in that trade?
Reese McGuire was in that trade. He's a very handsy player, if you know what I mean.
Moving on.
Yeah, we're not talking about that's for the After Hours podcast. We can talk about that. But yeah, I'm just looking at other players that are on the market, and even the higher AAVs. You got your Trevor Bauer. Who knows what the Jays want to do with JT Realmuto? Because I know the Phillies are heavy favorites to get him.
Yeah.
But hey, if the Jays package, let's say, I don't know, let's say Alejandro Kirk or Danny Jansen, because I know they like Kirk a lot. It's obviously like Kirk. If they package one of the catchers with an outfielder and a prospect or two, they could get a stud pitcher. an absolute stud pitcher, right? And we don't
Absolutely.
and we don't even know who they're looking at in terms of the trade market. That's a really tough one to gauge, because some of those teams you don't know what's going to happen, right?
Hmm.
Like Pittsburgh looks like trash. Like I had to look through their 40-man roster. There's a grand total of 5 people like I remember watching play in the major leagues, and then there's some really questionable signings like Carson Fulmer, who played for the I want to say White Sox or Tigers, maybe both.
Yeah.
Um, like and those guys are supposed to be in their rotation,
Yeah. And
right?
this is what the Jays were dealing with like 2 years ago. So
Right. Yeah.
we know what that pain
Yeah.
feels like.
Yeah. Like Pittsburgh has that Williams guy, right? Taylor Williams
Yeah.
or Trevor Williams. He looks pretty good. But yeah, looking back at the free agent list, Tanaka, yeah, let's stay away from that. He's getting worse and worse. Odorizzi looking great. Well, not great, but he's a good pitcher. Justin Turner, he's 36, signing on a short term deal. Probably
I think
meant
what I've heard from Justin Turner is apparently he wants a 4-year deal from the Dodgers, which I don't
yeah,
think
he's
he's
a
getting. He's
crackhead.
36 years old.
He's a crackhead. But that's not happening. I'm sorry, but
No.
you're not getting that. I mean, with the Jays, is Tim Mayza gonna come back? Is he actually gonna
Yeah,
play?
he's a guy I've almost forgotten about. I mean, they really need left-handed relievers. That's an important thing. And speaking of left-handed relievers, Brad Hand's still a
Brad
free
Hand, I'm
agent.
looking at him right now. Yeah,
They're very active on Brad Hand, which would be a good addition. Nice to have a lefty in the bullpen, you
yeah.
know?
Compliment Kirby Yates, who's I guess the de facto closer. We're not even gonna mention him because I mean that's just a good signing, good money. He's gonna be the closer, no ifs, ands, or buts. But yeah, Brad Hand to pitch right behind him. Why
Mhm.
not? Right? You
Yeah,
got
I mean, if you can get him, I mean, a lot of teams would love a Brad Hand.
yeah.
I mean, he's a lefty, especially because the Jays have like their two lefties are starting pitchers, are Baraki and Anthony Kay, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to have an actual
Yeah, you're
back
not
of the
gonna have them
rotation
set
or
up.
back end, back at the
Yeah.
or what am I saying? Late inning reliever who throws left-handed would be absolutely
Yeah.
lovely.
You've got Justin Wilson here, former Cub, former Tiger, now recently pitching with the Mets. 33 years old. I remember him being really good. I don't know what he's been doing with the Mets.
Yeah, he used to be dominant. I think he hasn't been as dominant, but he's
He's
still a
still good. Yeah.
yeah
I mean, I wouldn't cry if they signed him. I mean,
yeah.
if the Jays signed someone
It's not
like
like they'd be signing Jesse Chavez or anything.
Jesse Chavez, yeah, he reminds me of that one character from Prison Break. I think Teabag looks a lot like him.
Oh boy.
But hey, D Gordon's available. He could be a really interesting bench guy, just there to
Yeah,
run,
yeah.
right? Jonathan VR, obviously former Blue Jay,
I'm gonna say probably no to that.
probably noted that. Marwin Gonzalez, he was a highly touted signing. I think it was 2 seasons ago. A lot of
Hmm.
people were like, "Hey, he's a good player. Why not?"
Hmm.
Um, but who knows,
Yeah,
right?
I think the Jays need to sign one more infielder, at least one more infielder, and a couple of pitchers, and then I think that'll be a productive offseason for them. In terms of infielders, two of the guys that I've thought of, Colton Wong,
Hmm.
second baseman from the Cardinals. He's a very, very good defender.
Left-handed
He's
hitter too. Yeah.
a left-handed hitter. You put him at second base. He's a Gold Glove winner at second base, and then you move Biggio to third. That's a pretty good.
Or Biggio to first. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and another one, if and this is might be a bit of a stretch, and if he's willing to play third base, Didi Gregorius, I think that
Hmm.
would be a great left-handed bat in between all the righties. Do exactly what he did in New York, and more importantly, when the Jays go to play New York, he can crush them because he crushes that
On the
short
short
porch
porch.
in right
Yeah.
field.
Yeah. Yeah, I like both of those. I would actually even throw in there Andrelton Simmons.
Yep. I
Andrelton
mean,
Simmons,
there's still a lot of infielders out there. There's Marcus Semien, if
Marcus
he's
Semien.
willing to
Yeah,
play third base.
Marcus Semien is interesting because he was once the worst shortstop in baseball defensively. Now he's one of the better ones.
Hmm.
But yeah, he like great player for the A's recently and like in the past couple of years. So remember
He was
they,
a he was an MVP candidate a couple or
yep,
what was it last
yeah,
season,
yeah,
season
yeah.
before?
I remember they brought in Ron Washington, the former Rangers coach and former A's coach as well. Yeah, he used to. I remember him in Moneyball, or
Yeah,
he was portrayed in Moneyball. Um, but yeah, him and I mean Andrelton Simmons. Like you talk about Colton Wong being one of the best defenders at second base. Andrelton Simmons is the best defensive shortstop, if not the best defensive player in baseball.
Oh yeah,
Right?
he's absolutely phenomenal at shortstop. The offense has always been a question with him, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's the best if he's healthy, he's the best defensive shortstop in baseball.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, he still hits for an average, right? He's not going to hit
Mhm.
home runs, right? But if you bring him in, then like Bichette, he's going to have to move, right? He's going to have to go play second base. He's not going to play third base. He doesn't have the makeup. But you could easily move Biggio or Vlad over there and move the other one
Mhm.
to first base, right?
Yeah, and I think if you're signing an Andrelton Simmons, you have to go right to Bo Bichette first. Let's see
Yeah.
if he's okay with it. I mean, he's already said, if there's a better player to play shortstop, then he'd be willing to move off. And Andrelton Simmons certainly qualifies as that as one of the best
Yeah.
defenders in baseball. You
I
know,
mean,
yeah,
you also have to look out for keeping Bobic happy because you want to sign him when the time comes, right, to a long-term
Mhm.
extension. I don't see why they don't do it yet. Like I think, I mean, fine, he's only played like what 75 games in the major leagues, but like, I don't think there's anything in the way of him being a shortstop for the next like 15 to 20 years.
Yeah,
They
he's
could,
already one of the best young players in baseball. I mean, you look at, I remember one of the Blue Jays games last season, and they were comparing Bichette's numbers to Fernando Tatis Jr.'s
mhm,
numbers in San Diego, and and they were really really similar. And
mhm.
Tatis gets all the talks and all the he's so amazing and stuff, and Bo Bichette's not too bad either. I mean, he hasn't really gotten a chance to play a full season yet. This would be his first full season because of the shortened season last year and was called up mid-season the year before. But I mean, this guy is going to be one of the premier offensive shortstops in baseball, and he's not a bad defender either.
Yeah, he's not a bad defender at all. I mean, the Jays infield looks like really, really good defensively. Obviously, Vlad is a big question mark, but we've seen him lose a lot of weight this season. I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but he's like
Mhm.
he just looks like a thin guy, right? Like obviously we don't want to lose the power, but we haven't even seen that much power from him anyways, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, he this is him switching all that. I don't want to say fat because that's kind of rude, but
Oh, he
fat
was fat. He
switching
was a
that.
big boy. He was
Yeah,
chunky.
yeah, he's changing that to. I mean, he said he was 280 pounds last year going into the season. That's just not acceptable. But now he's lost about 40 pounds, and it's all muscle now too, right?
Hmm.
It's all muscle, so I don't think he's going to lose any power. And he's about to. He's well now. He's got Springer. He's not the most important hitter on the team anymore, and he's about to. I think he's going to have a monster season this year.
Yeah, I think he can quietly hit like over 20 home runs. Let's say 25 or 30, and people are still going to be talking about Springer. And if we sign Bauer, people are going to be talking about more about Bauer. And I think Bichette had already taken the reins from him as like the young guy they're going to watch, just
Yeah,
because he's actually produced. And I think that's going to be good for him because in his whole life he's been in the spotlight, right?
yeah.
Ever since he was born, like people have been talking about his dad, right?
Oh yeah,
And ever since his dad retired, people are like, "Hey, what's going on with his kid, right? Is he gonna play or something?" And then you hear about him in the Dominican being trained by his uncle, and then you see him signed by the Jays, and from there it's been holy shit, this kid can hit, right? Like
yeah,
his minor league numbers were bonkers. Like, they're just
yeah.
insane.
And one thing that kind of has gone under the radar is probably about the second half of last season. He played all 60 games, which is the only Blue Jay player to do that.
Yeah.
Is he lost a lot of weight in the middle of the season,
Hmm.
during the season, and by the end of it, like he was swinging the bat really well the latter part of the season. After he started, he became a lot more athletic looking at the plate,
Hmm.
and that bat was flying through the zone, and he was crushing the ball a lot more. You know.
Yeah, I mean, like he's poised. Like I said, he's poised to break out. Like he's gonna play very well. Like I don't see like the hype. Obviously, it was a lot. There's a lot for him to deal with. But like he's shown that he can hit. He hits it harder than anyone, right? Like like you've seen him play. I mean, I used to work for the team, so I saw him play every day, right? I would hear him take BP. You would hear the crack of the bat, and you'd be like, okay, so he's hitting now, right? Like who's hitting. I
Mhm.
mean, I would sit like in the outfield with my friend before our shift started, and the balls would just like fly over our heads into the second deck, and you wouldn't see him even like do much. He would just swing, and then you hear the crack of the bat or the crack of the Vlad bat, right? It's not like anything else. And
Yeah.
I mean,
You
like,
look at his exit velocities too. Like there's only probably two players in all of baseball uh who can hit the ball as hard as Vlad does, and that's Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, and they are both monsters. They are a lot bigger and stronger than, at least looking, than Vlad is, and he just, like, this is all just pure talent that Vlad is crushing the ball as hard as he does, and I think he's, and all of these reasons, especially now he's in better shape, he's going to have I think he's going to have a monster season this year. Um, whether that's at first base, DH, third base, or whatever, I think his offense is going to take off now.
yeah, and I think him adjusting to major league pitching is going to take a big step this year because like a lot of the movement of like free agents, especially in the AL, the pitchers haven't moved that much between leagues, right? So
Yeah.
you saw Kluber move from now Texas to the Yankees, but he's been in the AL for the past couple of seasons. So, when we play the Yankees, Vlad's seen him, right? So he's gonna know what Kluber's dishing out. And with all the other guys, right? I mean, the Cleveland baseball team, we'll call them the Indians, who cares? It's still the Indians, but they lost Carrasco, but he left the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think just like with everyone, that period of adjusting the major league pitching, that's gonna, like eventually that's gonna be like he's gonna come to the ballpark and be like, okay, I've actually faced this guy before. It's not like in his major league debut in San Francisco, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Where it's like I don't know who he faced. It might have been like Derek Rodriguez, Pudge Rodriguez's son. And you're like, well, I've never seen this guy pitch, right? You can watch the tape, right?
Exactly.
Now we're gonna be playing, let's say, we're gonna be playing Tampa, and they have Brandon McKay pitching. You'll be like, okay, seen Brandon McKay pitch like maybe once or twice. I don't know if he's faced them.
Probably facing the minors too.
Probably faced them in the minors yet. Tampa has who's Durham Bulls still, right? Still the Durham Bulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would have played a few times, coming up through AA, AAA. But yeah, that transition period, I think it's. I think he's there, right? He knows what he has to do.
Yeah, and I think especially when he first came up, he was the focal point of a very, very weak Blue Jays lineup. I mean, especially before, no pitcher wants to be the guy who gave up a home run to Vlad Guerrero Jr. because, just because then you're on the news for the wrong reason. So he's definitely the focal point of that lineup. Now, he isn't. George Springer is, and Bo Bichette is, and anybody else that they bring in will be as well.
Do you think that's part of the reason why Jay's management, or as we like to call them, Shatkins or Byron Atkins, they push so hard for a big name to kind of take the load off the younger guys? Because I don't think it's really phased Bichette being like the number one guy there, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's probably a little bit of a factor, but I think that's mostly a factor of telling them why it's like now is the right time to make a big move like that, a big splash. Mm-hmm. I think mostly they just were like, okay, we have a good team. It's time to bring in some elite players that we can start building this to be a championship team.
Yeah. I mean, also I think that just because this free agent market, it just had like the players that the Blue Jays wanted. It's the kind of players that the Blue Jays need. They needed a kind of an older center fielder, right? Because all our center fielders are under 30. All our infielders are under 30, right?
Yeah.
And our oldest player is like Tanner Roark, and he's 34.
Like the oldest position player on the team last year was Travis Shaw. He was like 31, and he's gone now.
Yeah, he's gone now. Thank God. But
and maybe the other, and then Randall Grichuk is also older too, and he's not even that old either, right?
Yeah, he's 28 now, going to his age 29 season, I think.
Yeah.
But looking at next year's free agency is kind of wild, right? There are
yeah.
some crazy players there. Obviously,
Oh, yeah.
Zach Greinke, not even going to look at him. No Justin Verlander, but Nolan Arenado.
Possibly.
He's making $35 million this year. He's going to be 32 next year.
That's
He
only
is
if he opts out, though.
only if he opts out, right? Yeah, because I think I see the thing in green. It's a player option.
Yeah.
Clayton Kershaw, he's not leaving the Dodgers, right?
No.
Max Scherzer, 37 years old, but he's still insane, right? Albert Pujols, he's gonna,
This contract's finally gonna end.
yeah, his contract finally gonna end, and he's gonna be 43. Francisco Lindor at shortstop.
Yeah,
Obviously,
here comes all the big shortstops now.
here
that
come all
are
the
free
big
agents.
shortstop, right? Like Francisco Lindor, you got Chris Bryant, who had a bad year, like really bad.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember like there were like rumors of the Cubs willing to trade him for peanuts. Like literally just peanuts, like give us some Cracker Jacks and you can have him, and we'll throw in a few bats as well. You got
Don't forget an extra bucket of baseballs though.
the bucket of baseballs just to just so we can strike out with them. But yeah, I mean you got your first baseman as well, Freddie Freeman, best first baseman in baseball. He's gonna be 33, but again he could sign like a 3 or 4 year deal. Like his defense isn't gonna falter because I mean he's playing first base, right?
Yeah.
Crush Davis, K Davis, off the A's. Why am I forgetting that? A's. He's an old guy. He's gonna be 35, making a lot of money, playing like DHing, maybe playing some first base. Not a left fielder anymore. Kenley Jansen for next year. Brandon Belt. But yeah, these are still some old guys. I realized Brandon Belt is 34 years old.
Really? Wow.
He's 34 years old.
That is crazy.
Yeah. What happened with Joe Panic? Did he sign anywhere yet?
I don't think so.
He was a good little player for us. Good player.
He played well, yeah.
Yeah. You got Javier Baez too for next
Carlos
year.
Correa.
Carlos Correa, Corey Seager, Trevor Story. I mean, take your pick of the bunch, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you made a list of the top 10 shortstop in baseball, like 4 of them are free agents after next season.
Yeah.
And shortstop's a pretty premium position, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, you also got Starlin Castro, who's not he's played shortstop, but he's listed as second baseman here. He could, I mean, yeah, he could make some money too. If you remember him getting traded to Marlins and having to eat it for a whole season. He's just been there like, what the hell is this, right? Like,
after being traded away from the Cubs, before they won the World Series, and then traded away from the Yankees just before they started to be good again.
Yeah, I mean he's had a rough ride, but anyways, what else did we want to talk about? Did we want to talk about predictions for this season? Way too early predictions for the AL East, because I think we'll do a whole predictions video later on. But if we're just going to talk about AL East, I still think the Yankees are favorites to win it.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, they've added a little bit to their rotation. Their offenses hasn't taken a hit because they were able to keep LeMahieu.
Yeah. I mean, if they lost LeMahieu, I think it's a different story. But since they still have him, I mean, they're obviously not signing Bauer because him and Garrett Cole are like sworn enemies. So I
Trevor Bauer and just like half the league are just sworn enemies, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a very likable guy. I don't mind him. I think he's a decent piece. I mean, not even decent. He's a good pitcher. He won the Cy Young, right?
Yeah.
Just the personality with like he's really abrasive, right? He's like really in your face.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys where if things are going well, he's great to have around. If things are going bad, then he's gonna start doing stupid things like throwing the ball out over the center field wall.
Yeah, and then he's gonna demand to pitch every 4 days, and then if management's like, "No, shut the fuck up, you're not pitching," every 4 days, then he's gonna be like, "Oh, I want to be traded," and they're like, "What the hell?" Right? Like he's one of those guys where you don't know what to expect. But yeah, I think I would put the Yankees not solidly in first place, but
tentatively in first place.
Yeah, because you don't know how the Jays are gonna look, right? If the Jays sign Bauer, if the Jays sign like a James Paxton, that changes things, right?
Yeah, I think the Jays right now are probably the third best team still, but they still have a few moves that they're planning on making.
Yeah. I mean, I read a thing saying that the Jays are predicted to win about 90 games based on stats alone, right? With this winter
Right.
signing. Just 88 games based on stats alone, and they might exceed that, right?
Mhm.
If the Jays win in the ballpark of 90 games, you know, I don't think the Yankees are going to win 100 games, right?
No, and I think the Blue Jays have definitely narrowed the gap with on the Yankees. Like the Blue Jays now have an offense that can go toe to toe with the Yankees.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, do they have a pitching staff that can go toe to toe with the Rays? And even though the Rays lost, Blake Snell and Charlie Morton, they still have a phenomenal bullpen.
And they traded, was it Alvarado or Diego Castillo? One of those guys left too.
Yeah, and they still have a phenomenal bullpen.
Oh yeah, like they have like so many under the radar guys that you don't even know about yet. But
Oliver Drake.
God damn it, former Blue Jay Oliver Drake. Hey, who knows? Maybe they'll sign Preston Guillemette as well and turn him into a stud. But
They still have Aaron Loop.
they still have Aaron Loop, who's a tidy left-handed reliever, former Blue Jay as well. But
Yeah.
I think with if the Jays and Yankees, I don't think the Rays are going to be second. I think I do think they're going to fall to third place just because that's like I think they're expecting to be there, right?
Yeah,
Hopefully fighting for that second wild card spot. But
I think the Rays still have the best pitching, even though they lost a few guys. They still
yeah,
have the best pitching.
it's they don't have the big names, but they do have I think the best pitching. But if
The Blue Jays can certainly narrow that gap with a couple of signings.
100%. Even if
And
some of
they've
their
already
guys don't
narrowed,
perform,
yeah, and they've already narrowed the gap with the Yankees with their power and offense now,
Yeah.
with bringing George Springer on, and then the growth of Bichette, Guerrero, Biggio, Gurriel, etc.
Yeah. I mean, if the Jays and Yankees are within a couple of games, let's say the Yankees within like two weeks left of the season are 5 games ahead of the Jays, right? Let's say they have 91 wins, the Jays have I don't know 87, 86.
Yeah,
Like if one or two results go the other way, like on either side, then you have a completely different makeup, right?
definitely.
This is a season that could go down to the wire because hey, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, they could just get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They've shown that they can get hurt and they can miss the entire season.
Yeah, Luke Voigt too.
Luke Voigt, really solid player.
Gleyber Torres is still their shortstop. He can't play defense.
Miguel Andujar is their third baseman, I think.
Their defense is definitely not up to par either. I mean, I don't think Luke Voigt and Gleyber Torres. I don't think either of them are particularly play well defensively.
Yeah, no, he's
Andujar at third base isn't a very good defender either. Really, their best defender is Aaron Hicks, and that's about it.
Yeah,
and he could be hurt too.
Is Brett Gardner still there? I think he's still
He's
there,
a
right?
free agent, I think.
Okay, then good. Because I remember, yeah, he is still, I guess, a really good center fielder defensively. He would always hit for a nice average, good player.
He always kills the Jays.
Yeah, hated when he played against the Jays. I think top 3 I think is set. We're not worried about the Red Sox. Orioles last place. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, we're agreeing on that one.
Yeah, 4th place, Red Sox. Nothing to write home about on their team, right? Like they have a good team.
They have no pitching. They have absolutely no. Like even if Sale and Eduardo Rodriguez come back, they have no pitching.
Yeah, like I don't know
who they have in the bullpen, but Phillips, what's his name?
I
don't even remember this guy's Phillips guy.
Yeah.
He was not very good. He was like their best reliever, and he's not very good.
Yeah,
Phillips Valdez, that's his name.
Oh God. Yeah, they have a lot of who are these guys coming out right now. I mean, they had their moment in the spotlight. They got their World Series recently, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, Red Sox 4th. I think. I think Rays 3rd. I don't think many people are going to disagree with that.
I think as of right now, Blue Jays are 3rd, but that's without the assumption. Like this is if they don't make any more moves, then they're going to make more moves.
Then I think that for me, that's just because we haven't seen this version of the team play, right? If we're playing a second season with this lineup, I think based on how they perform, I think you could put them in 2nd or 3rd, right? So I have them in second.
They had a top 10 offense in the league last year. Now they have George Springer. I mean, if they add a couple extra pitchers, then they'll have phenomenal pitching depth. I mean, if like they'll have guys like Thomas Hatch and Ryan Barucki and Anthony Kay, who are probably AAA pitchers now.
Yeah. And there
and I
actually will
think
be a AAA season, hopefully.
if there is, yeah, that's the hope for sure, is if there's a minor league season. And I think because of the season was shortened last year, it's not all about high end arms either. It's about having depth of arms and I think the Blue Jays have that now.
Yeah, I mean, so okay, I guess we disagree on second and third, but I don't think that's like a big discrepancy. Second or third place, I think both those teams are like favorites. Two of the favorites for wild card positions, anyways, right?
Yeah.
I think you got the Yankees in first for now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who knows, right?
They could all be injured. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Luis Severino, one wrong
Mhm.
pitch, he's out for a season.
Yeah.
Corey Kluber, he's a shadow of his former self, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Tanaka's not signed yet.
Tanaka's not signed. Obviously, Garrett Cole, he's going to be a
Paxton's not
stud.
signed.
Yeah.
So
they're at risk of losing two of their big starting pitchers.
and
J-Hap,
also, I mean, the Blue
they
Jays
lost J-Hap too.
They lost J-Hap. And the Blue Jays, you could argue that they have maybe the best lineup in baseball, if not probably top. Or not in baseball. In the American League, I mean, right now, really the only teams I can think of that might have a better lineup are like the Yankees and the White Sox, and it's not by a lot.
I mean, the White Sox, like, they have Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, Yasmani Grandal. Who else? Who else do they have at the moment?
Abreu has been phenomenal. Tim
MVP,
Anderson.
yeah.
So they have a lot of, and they just brought back Adam Eaton.
Oh yeah,
So
that guy. Former
and they have
national.
great pitching too. But
I mean,
but in terms of just offense, they have a very good offense already.
They have a good offense, yeah.
And the Blue Jays are right up there with the best offenses in the American League for sure.
I remember seeing the White Sox play a couple of years ago. I was in there for was it Veterans Day? It's like that holiday in September, like before school starts. I forget what it's called over there. It might be Veterans Day, Memorial Day, or whatever. And I remember seeing the White Sox lineup, and it was bad, right? Like the leading off for them was like Nicky Delmonico.
Yeah, the White Sox are about 1 year ahead of what the Jays are, right? The last year's White Sox is exactly what this year's Blue Jays kind of look like, I think.
Yeah, but a lot of people do hype up the White Sox, and they do have a great pitching staff behind Lucas Giolito, because I think Lucas Giolito is
the ace.
Is my favorite pitcher on that staff, and he's shown that he's one of the best pitchers there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember, starting off with the Nationals, he pitched a while there. Not even a while, just like a little bit. And then he got shipped off for Adam Eaton. Adam Eaton, a great center fielder, but yeah.
And now he's back with the White Sox.
Michael Kopech, God, who knows what he's going to do, if he's going to do anything, if he's actually going to play.
Yeah.
Because that guy's had problems with injuries as well.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have an autograph from him, so I have to find that later. So if he actually does pitch well, it's going to be worth a lot. But yeah, I think that AL East, I think we have our predictions there. Obviously, we can evaluate that once maybe right before spring training starts or once a few signings.
And remember, like, these are way too early, so these are probably not gonna actually end up like this.
Yeah,
I mean, if you went and predicted the AL East last year, you probably don't have Baltimore being the fourth best team in the American League East. So,
I mean, Baltimore, for them and their stud Pedro Severino, right? I guess, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Davis, he did jack all. Again, probably. I mean,
he can
maybe
play defense, and that's about it.
He might have hit in the 200s. Who knows, right? But I'm not crazy about it. Anybody to be favorite in the AL East. Like, you could convince me that the Jays are going to finish third, and as long as they finish in a wild card, I'd be like, okay, that's fine.
Yep.
Right. But then, I mean, next year they've got to. I think they're challenging for first. Maybe with another big signing or two, because now they're a player. I think with signing Springer, they show that they're a player in the free agent market,
right?
And that they can convince players to come up here, because they're like, players are giving up a lot. Like, they're giving up a substantial amount of money to come play in Canada.
Yeah.
But I mean, they convinced Springer. They convinced a while ago Granderson, right? The Granderson
Yep.
player, right?
They got Ryu last year.
Got Ryu last year, right? Ryu, like that was a out of nowhere signing for me. I didn't hear anything about it.
And he pitched well. He pitched like Hyun-Jin Ryu last year.
Yeah,
he was
then
phenomenal.
Then the playoffs came and he well, let's not talk
that's
about that.
another discussion.
Yeah, that's another discussion. That one needs some hard liquor to talk over.
Yeah.
But I think for now, I think we've talked about all we need to talk about. I think in our next installment we're going to talk about more about free agent signings because I think Trevor Bauer, I think he should sign soon.
Yeah, and just as we record this, it is 1:30 on Friday, the 22nd of January. So by the time you see this, that like Trevor Bauer could have signed by now.
By the time this goes up, this could all be outdated, and the Jays could have shipped off Vlad Guerrero and Bo Bichette for I don't know. Let's say they could have shipped him off to Miami for Miguel Rojas.
I would.
You don't know.
I think I'd become a Yankees fan if they did that.
Maybe not Yankees. I'm thinking more of maybe a Rockies fan because they have nothing going for them.
Yeah.
But if you remember, actually, one last thing to bring up. Remember Jeff Hoffman, who we traded there for? I think he got traded or he left.
Oh, I heard something about him. Yeah. That was a trade that worked out. That was the Troy Tulowitzki trade.
Jeff Hoffman for the Reds. That's God knows why. Yeah, I don't know. Reds, I guess they still have Castellanos, but whatever. But I think I think for now we're going to call it a show. We'll be back soon enough. Maybe within a week. Maybe within 2 weeks. Who knows? If there's no baseball news, we'll do a quiz. I'll think of a quiz. We'll set something up. We'll fancy graphics and everything. Yeah, for now, I think we're going to sign off. This has been a great show. I'm Leo, and that is... Say your name.
This is Jared.
All right, and that's the show. Thank you guys for listening, if you guys do listen, and see you later. Bye.